Okay, let's jump right in. We're doing a deep dive today into habits, something that really shapes so much of our lives, often without us even, realizing it.
Absolutely. And we're drawing heavily from James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. We've got some core excerpts that really lay out his thinking.
Yeah, it's a fantastic source. Our mission today is basically to unpack these methods from the book, make them really clear and hopefully super actionable for you, the listener.
Right. We want to get past the jargon and show you the simple, almost invisible mechanics that, when you put them together, can lead to some pretty powerful results.
Because that's the core idea, isn't it? The real value, understanding how these tiny, tiny changes, these atomic habits can actually compound.
Exactly. Like how small steps can help you stop just being carried along by your habits and actually start designing them.
So where does he kick things off? He starts right at the beginning, defining what an atomic habit even is.
He calls it an extremely small amount of a thing, the single irreducible unit of a larger system. Basically, the smallest possible building block.
Like a single atom, you can't really break it down further and have it still be that thing.
Precisely. And the power isn't just that it's small, but how these small actions build up. It's all about repetition over time.
Which brings us straight to compounding, right? Like with money, but for our behaviors.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. He uses that striking example. Improving by just 1% every day, it sounds like almost nothing.
But over a year,
hmm
the math is kind of mind-blowing.
It is. You end up something like 37 times better. But the flip side is true too. Tiny bad habits, small errors repeated daily, they compound into, well, pretty toxic outcomes.
Ah, the double-edged sword. Good habits build, bad habits tear down.
Mm.
The book uses that airplane analogy, which I think really clarifies the compounding idea.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. Imagine a plane leaving LA for New York.
Okay.
If the nose is pointed just 3.5 degrees off course at takeoff, tiny adjustment, you wouldn't notice.
Right. Barely a few feet difference on the ground.
But fly across the whole US. That tiny initial difference means you don't land in New York. You end up landing in Washington, D.C.
Hundreds of miles off. Wow. Small change, huge impact over distance or time.
For better or worse, which is why understanding how they work is so key.
So if we want to steer towards the better destination, where should we focus? He makes this really important point about goals versus systems. He credits Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy, partly for this insight.
Right. Goals are the results: run a marathon, lose weight. Systems are the processes, your training schedule, your eating habits.
And the argument is focus on the system.
Totally. Klee argues your results have very little to do with your goals and almost everything to do with the systems you follow. Build a good system, and the goals often take care of themselves.
That feels upside down for a lot of people. We're so goal-focused.
I know, but think about it. If you just focus on the goal, what happens after you achieve it? Or if you don't, but if you focus on the system, like being the kind of person who doesn't miss workouts, the results become almost secondary.
And this focus on process helps explain that frustrating bit, the plateau of latent potential.
Ah, yes, the valley of disappointment. This is huge. You start a new habit, you're putting in the effort, maybe meditating every day.
Nothing seems to change. You don't feel calmer. You don't see results. It's discouraging.
Exactly. Because progress usually isn't linear, results are often delayed. We expect the straight line up, and when we don't get it, we think it's not working and quit.
Right before the breakthrough, probably.
Often, yeah. The work isn't wasted during that plateau. It's like potential energy being stored. Think of ice melting.
Okay.
It absorbs heat, goes from 25, 26, 30 degrees, no visible change, still ice, but all that energy is building up. Then it hits 32 degrees and bam, it melts.
So the earlier effort wasn't pointless. It just hadn't reached the threshold yet.
Exactly. The full value reveals itself later. It's a crucial reframe.
And tying this all together, the ultimate goal, the sort of North Star, is identity change.
This is the deepest level, he says. It works both ways. Your habits shape who you believe you are, and who you believe you are shapes your habits.
So it's a feedback loop.
A powerful one. The goal isn't just to do something, like run. It's to become someone, like a runner. Every time you perform the habit, you're casting a vote for that identity.
So instead of I want to lose weight, it's I am a healthy person. And then you act in accordance with that identity.
Precisely. It makes sticking to the habits easier because it feels aligned with who you are. And understanding how these votes get cast brings us to the engine driving it all, the habit loop.
The absolute backbone of behavior. He breaks it down into 4 steps. Cue, craving, response, reward.
This is the fundamental feedback loop. Try, fail, learn, try differently. It's how we learn everything. Habits are just the brain's way of automating solutions to problems we face over and over.
Always in that order. Cue first.
Always. The cue is the trigger. It's a bit of information that predicts a reward is nearby. For our ancestors, maybe the smell of berries?
And for us.
Could be anything. A notification sound, the time of day, seeing your keys. It predicts secondary rewards like money, approval, satisfaction, stress relief.
And they can become almost invisible over time, right? Like the phone in your pocket.
Totally. You don't even consciously register it sometimes, which is why awareness, just noticing your cues, is step 0 for changing anything.
Okay, so cue triggers it. Then comes the craving. Step 2.
This is the motivational engine. It's not the habit itself you crave, but the change in state the reward promises.
Like you don't crave smoking. You crave the feeling of relief it provides.
Exactly. It's the feeling that something's missing or could be better. It's the desire. And our emotions play a huge role here, transforming a neutral cue, like seeing the clock hit 5 p.m., into a craving, like I need to unwind.
He uses the temperature example, right? You
Yeah.
sense the temperature drop, but you only crave a coat when you feel cold enough to predict warmth will feel better.
Perfect example. The craving is the prediction of relief or satisfaction, which leads naturally to step 3, the response.
This is the actual habit, doing the thing, or even thinking the thought.
Yep. And critically, how easy or hard that response is matters a lot. Effort is a major factor in whether we act.
Makes sense. We tend to follow the path of least resistance.
We absolutely do. And finally, step 4, the reward.
The payoff.
It satisfies the craving, but maybe more importantly, it teaches your brain, hey, that action, the one we just did, it worked. Remember it for next time you see that cue. That satisfaction locks the loop in place.
He gives some really clear examples, like walking past a bakery.
Right. Cue. Smell of donuts. Craving. Ooh, donut would taste good right now. Response. Buy and eat the donut. Reward. Craving satisfied. Feels good. Brain learns. That street. Good feelings.
Or the modern classic, hitting a work problem.
Cue. You feel stuck. Frustrated on a task. Craving. Desire for relief. Distraction. Anything but the stuck feeling. Response. Check social media. Reward. Momentary distraction. Novelty. Feels less stressful for a second. Brain learns. Feeling stuck. Check phone.
Wow. It's running constantly under the surface.
All the time. And knowing this loop cue, craving, response, reward, gives us the direct framework for his 4 laws of behavior change.
The practical stuff, how to actually build good habits and break bad ones. Law number 1 focuses on the cue. Make it obvious.
Exactly. If you want a new habit to stick, the trigger for it needs to be impossible to ignore. One really effective way is using implementation intentions.
That sounds fancy, but it's basically just making a specific plan, right?
It is not just I'll exercise more, but when my alarm goes off at 7 a.m. tomorrow cue, I will put on my running clothes response in my bedroom location. The specificity is key. I will behavior at time and location.
It preloads the decision, removes ambiguity.
It does. Another great technique, often combined with that, is habit stacking.
Piggybacking a new habit onto one you already do automatically.
Perfect way to put it. The existing habit acts as the cue for the new one. The formula is simple. After I current habit, I will new habit.
Like after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute.
Exactly. The coffee is the reliable cue you already have. He mentions the Diderot effect here, too.
Oh yeah, the guy who got a fancy new robe and then suddenly felt like all his other stuff looked shabby.
Right. It triggered a cascade of buying new things to match the robe. Habit stacking uses that cascade effect positively. One habit reliably flows into the next.
Beyond specific plans, the environment itself is maybe the biggest cue setter. He really downplays willpower sometimes.
He argues motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. Think about that hospital cafeteria study.
The one about drink choices.
Yeah, and Thorndike study. They didn't lecture anyone about sugary drinks. They just changed the layout. Put water everywhere, extra fridges by the tills, baskets near the food.
So water became the most obvious, easiest choice.
Exactly. Soda was still there, just less prominent. And what happened? Soda sales dropped like a rock. Water sales soared. No change in motivation, just a change in the environment, making the cue obvious and the response easy.
It really drives home how much our surroundings nudge us. He suggests thinking about environment as a relationship, right?
Yeah, how you interact with the space and objects. Your couch isn't inherently for TV and snacks. It becomes associated with whatever you consistently do there, so you can consciously design those associations.
So law 1 boiled down to make cues for good habits, obvious. Put your guitar stand in the middle of the living room.
And make cues for bad habits invisible. Hide the cookies, Put the game console away. Simple, but powerful.
He also pushes the one space, one use idea.
Yes. Try not to mix contexts. Don't work from your bed if you can help it. Have a dedicated space for work, another for relaxation, another for eating.
Like his example of having a separate office, making it easier to switch off.
It creates clear boundaries. Entering the office is the cue for work mode. Leaving is the cue for personal time. It reduces mental friction.
The power of environment is stark in that Vietnam heroin story he includes.
Right. Many soldiers used heroin in the highly stressful, cue-rich environment of Vietnam. But back home, removed from those cues, most quit relatively easily. The environmental triggers were gone.
But it also shows how trying to use negative cues can backfire, like shaming smokers or overweight people.
Often, yeah, it just increases stress. And if stress is the trigger for their coping mechanism, smoking, eating, you've accidentally reinforced the bad habit by trying to create a negative cue. It's tricky.
Wow. Okay, so Law 1, make it obvious. Law 2 moves to the craving. Make it attractive.
This gets into the why behind the habit, what makes us want to do it. It's heavily tied to dopamine.
The pleasure chemical.
Well, it's more about anticipation and motivation than just pleasure after. Dopamine spikes before you get the reward, driving you to seek it out. Block dopamine and desire vanishes.
So dopamine makes us want things, makes them seem attractive.
Yes. And the bigger the anticipated reward, the bigger the dopamine hit, the stronger the craving. This is why engineered things, junk foods, social media feeds can be so addictive. They promise big, quick dopamine hits.
He talks about supernormal stimuli here, too.
Right. Exaggerated cues that trigger a stronger than normal response, like birds preferring a fake egg that's bigger and brighter than their own.
And humans fall for this with.
Junk food engineered to be hyper-palatable, social media likes giving exaggerated social validation, pornography providing supernormal sexual cues. Our ancient brains aren't always equipped for the modern world's engineered temptations.
So Law 2 is about making good habits more attractive, more enticing. How?
One great strategy is temptation bundling.
Pairing something you need to do with something you want to do.
Exactly. Like, I only get to watch my favorite Netflix show while I'm on the exercise bike need. Or the ABC TGIT example.
My God. It's Thursday. They bundled watching their shows with relaxing wine, popcorn.
They linked the needed behavior watch our shows with the desired feeling, relax, indulge. It made tuning in more attractive.
We're also social creatures. Things become attractive if they help us fit in.
Absolutely. Clear says we imitate 3 groups: the close, family, friends; the many, the tribe, the culture; and the powerful, those with status.
Imitating the close seems obvious. We pick up habits from people we spend time with.
For sure. Think about that study where if one partner in a couple lost weight, the other was much more likely to as well. Or the opposite, if your friends smoke, you're more likely to. It's invisible peer pressure.
Like that MIT class where a bunch became astronauts, being around high achievers pulls you up.
Exactly. Your social environment shapes what habits seem normal and attractive. Choosing your tribe wisely is a powerful strategy.
What about Alan Carr's method for quitting smoking? That fits here too, right?
Yes, because he focuses on making smoking unattractive. He doesn't just list health risks, which can cause stress.
He reframes the beliefs about smoking.
He systematically dismantles the perceived benefits. Smoking doesn't relieve stress, it causes it. You're not giving up anything valuable. By changing the smoker's perception, he reduces the craving, makes it seem undesirable.
Because the craving isn't really for the cigarette, it's for satisfying some deeper need.
Right. Connection, stress relief, fitting in. Habits are just the learned solutions we attach to those fundamental human motives.
And emotions are key in transforming a neutral cue into that I want it signal.
We act when we predict we'll feel better after doing the habit, which brings us back to consciously reframing our mindset.
Like changing, I have to go work out, into I get to move my body.
Yes, or how athletes reframe pregame nerves. Not, I'm nervous, but I'm excited, my body's ready. It changes the feeling and their response.
Because appealing to emotion often works better than pure logic, doesn't it?
Often much more powerful. Our gut feeling, our system 1 thinking, usually gets there first. Marketing knows this very well.
Okay, Law 1, obvious. Law 2, attractive. Law 3 targets the response. Make it easy.
This is all about reducing friction, making the habit require as little effort as possible. He starts by revisiting action versus motion.
Right. Motion is planning, researching, strategizing. Feels busy, but doesn't get the result.
Exactly. Action is actually doing the thing. We often prefer motion because it feels productive, but avoids the potential pain or judgment of actual action. It's a form of procrastination.
So we need to shift to action. And making action automatic comes down to repetition.
Repetition is king. It's not about time spent, but frequency. Every time you repeat an action, the neural pathway gets stronger. Habits form through hundreds, maybe thousands, of repetitions until they're automatic.
And we naturally follow the path of least resistance, the principle of least action.
We're wired to conserve energy. We'll almost always choose the easier option if the outcome is similar. Scrolling your phone takes virtually zero effort.
So the strategy is make good habits ridiculously convenient.
Remove every possible point of friction. He uses the garden hose analogy.
Oh yeah, trying to force water through a kinked hose is like trying to force motivation for a hard habit.
Right. It takes tons of effort. Reducing friction is like straightening the hose, the water. Your action just flows easily. You get more done with less willpower.
It's like addition by subtraction, remove the obstacles.
That's a great way to put it. Like
Yeah.
those Japanese manufacturers in the 70s who streamlined production by eliminating wasted steps, less effort, way more output.
And for bad habits, you flip it. Increase the friction. Make them harder to do.
Definitely. Unplug the TV after use. Leave your phone in another room when you need to focus. Put the cookies on the highest shelf behind something else. Even small bits of friction make a difference.
The 2-minute rule seems like a genius way to tackle the easy part, especially for starting.
It's brilliant. Scale any new habit down so the very first step takes less than 2 minutes. Read every day becomes read 1 page. Run 3 miles becomes put on my running shoes.
It sounds almost trivial, but the point isn't just to do 2 minutes, right?
No, the point is to make starting effortless. It's a gateway habit. Once you've put on your running shoes, you're much more likely to actually go for the run. It masters the art of just showing up. Doing something is way better than doing nothing.
And then you build on that with habit shaping.
Exactly. Once you've mastered the 2-minute start, you can gradually increase the difficulty or duration. Maybe next it's walk for 5 minutes, then run for 5 minutes. But you always focus on making that initial 2-minute step solid first.
The book also mentions one-time actions, things you do once that automate good habits or block bad ones.
Yeah, these are high leverage actions. Setting up automatic bill pay or savings transfers, buying a better mattress for sleep, getting blackout curtains, subscribing to a healthy meal delivery service, things that lock in future behavior.
That story about the first cash register is a perfect example.
James Ritty's Incorruptible Cashier. Patterson, the store owner, had a huge employee theft problem. He bought these machines.
And suddenly, stealing became really hard.
It added massive friction to theft and automated honest record keeping. One-time purchase, long-term behavior change for the whole staff. Automating good choices frees up your willpower for other things.
Makes sense. Okay, Law 1, obvious. Law 2, attractive. Law 3, easy. Finally, Law 4 deals with the reward. Make it satisfying.
This feels like the most straightforward one. We repeat what feels good. The cardinal rule of behavior change. What is immediately rewarded gets repeated. What's immediately punished gets avoided.
But here's the problem. Modern life is full of delayed rewards, right?
Exactly. We live in a delayed return environment. Going to the gym today feels like effort. The reward, better health, is way off in the future. Eating cake now feels good. The consequence, weight gain, is delayed.
And our brains are wired for instant gratification. Present you wants the reward now.
Present you dominates future you almost every time. That bias causes huge problems with long-term goals.
So how do we hack this? How do we make good habits immediately satisfying?
You need to inject some immediate gratification, especially early on before the natural intrinsic rewards kick in. Create artificial immediate rewards.
Like the savings account idea. Set up an account for something you want, like a trip.
Yes. And every time you skip buying that expensive coffee or you complete your workout, you immediately transfer a set amount into that trip fund. You see the balance go up right now.
That makes doing the right thing or skipping the wrong thing feel immediately rewarding.
It does. And ideally, the reward should align with the identity you're trying to build.
Right, like getting a massage after hitting a fitness goal reinforces being healthy.
Yeah.
Getting pizza,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not so much if health is the goal.
Exactly. The reward should feel like another vote for the person you want to be.
Habit tracking fits perfectly here too, doesn't it? Making progress visible feels good.
Oh, absolutely. Marking an X on a calendar, seeing a streak build up, it's immediate visual feedback that you're succeeding. It's inherently satisfying and motivating.
The don't break the chain mentality.
Super powerful. And connected to that is the crucial rule. Never miss twice. Slip-ups happen. Okay. But get back on track immediately the next day. One missed day is an anomaly. Two is the start of a new unwanted habit.
Successful people aren't the ones who never fail, but the ones who get back up quickly.
Precisely. Don't let one slip derail everything. Imperfect progress is still progress.
He does caution about measurement, though, with Goodhart's law.
Right. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. You risk optimizing for the number instead of the actual goal, like chasing step counts but eating junk food.
So tracking is useful, but keep perspective on the real purpose.
Exactly. And the inverse of Law 4 applies to bad habits. Make them immediately unsatisfying.
At immediate costs. This is where things like habit contracts come in.
Yes. Using an accountability partner or setting up consequences. Brian Harris, wanting to lose weight, he had to pay his trainer or wife if he missed goals.
And wear a rival team's hat to work if he skipped sprints. That's immediate social pain.
Brutal, but effective. It attaches immediate, unpleasant consequences to the unwanted behavior.
Okay, so that's the core framework. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. Based on cue, craving, response, reward.
It gives you a clear set of levers to pull to design your own behavior.
Towards the end, he touches on some more advanced things, like picking the right habits for you, choosing the right game.
Yeah, play to your strengths. Habits are easier to build when they align with your natural inclinations or talents. Your genes aren't destiny, but they suggest where your effort might yield better returns.
Ask yourself, what feels like fun to me but work to others? What comes easily?
Right. Don't force yourself into a game you're not built for if you don't have to. Lean into your advantages.
But he also points out a potential dark side to being really good at habits and building identity.
Identity pride. If you become too attached to, I'm the kind of person who does X, you might resist changing or learning when X is no longer the best way. Your identity can become a cage.
And maybe the most counterintuitive threat to success he mentions, not failure.
Boredom. Mastery requires endless repetition, and repetition gets boring.
Wow, that's huge.
Successful people aren't necessarily more passionate, they're just better at showing up and doing the work even when it's tedious. Professionals stick to the schedule, amateurs wait for inspiration.
You have to fall in love with the boredom, in a way.
Or at least learn to tolerate it extremely well. Showing up consistently, especially when it's dull, is where the real gains are made.
And to maintain all this, he stresses reflection and review.
You need to periodically check in. Are my habits still serving me? Are they moving me towards my goals? Is this still the best system?
Like elite athletes reviewing training logs, or writers revising drafts.
Exactly. He suggests things like an annual review. Tally your habits, ask critical questions. Don't just keep doing something out of inertia if it's stopped being effective.
And he notes these principles apply broadly business parenting.
The underlying mechanics of behavior change are pretty universal.
So wrapping this up, the real power of Atomic Habits is in that relentless focus on tiny, consistent improvements.
Yeah, and using those 4 laws, obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying as a toolkit to design the systems that actually lead to the outcomes you want.
It really highlights how small hinges swing big doors, those little daily choices guided by these principles genuinely compound into major transformations over time.
It definitely gives you, the listener, a concrete way to analyze your own habits and start making those small adjustments to the cues, cravings, responses, and rewards in your own life.
Making the good habits easier and more appealing, and the bad ones harder and less so.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with, something provocative from the book we touched on. It's that idea. The greatest threat to success is not failure, but boredom.
A powerful reminder. Sometimes just sticking with it, even when it's not exciting, is the most important habit of all. That's been our deep dive into the mechanics of habits, drawing from Atomic Habits.